Hey everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Teaching Educators Edition. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to handle virtual learning. Alright, so at the end of the 2019-2020 school year, things got really crazy in the sense that we were all teaching virtually for the first time in forever. I'd never had training on virtual teaching. I know a lot of teachers didn't, and yet we made it work. Now, there is a pretty high probability that the school I work at is going to continue virtual learning. However, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be stuck doing virtual learning for very long, but more than a few of us will actually be continuing the virtual learning scenario. And even if it's not 100% virtual, at this point, I think it's safe to say that teachers are probably going to be a little bit more apt to focus on digital literacy in the classroom just in case something like this ever happened again. So what can we do? How can we help ourselves and our students connect with us if we're virtual? Because let's face it, building relationships in a virtual classroom, almost impossible. How do you build relationships with students when you never actually get to see them? You don't get to talk in the halls or give them hugs or a handshake or talk to them about how the game went. There's no sports. You can't even say good game when your students have a victory. They don't even get to play sports. That has been so hard. My students, we were connecting, we were getting along, we were really starting to feel like a unit in the classroom. We had our own culture, and then this happened, and by this I mean coronavirus happened. But when that happened, my students only logged in once every couple of weeks or once every few days when they realized that they needed to get some work done. So in the other times, I'm just hanging out by myself in my virtual classroom going, hey, who wants to talk to me? Now, I'm over-exaggerating. I did have pretty good turnout for most of my virtual lessons, but it was never everybody. That was what killed me, is my students didn't always show up to the lessons. But then I kind of changed things up a little bit, and I wanted to share my experiences with some of you guys out there. So the first thing that I did was I made sure that I always at least had 2 lessons a week that were not really lessons but office hours. So twice a week I was online and available for a virtual chat or a live chat with my students just to go over the assignments and to talk about what was due, when it was due, and how to complete it. But then also, if they wanted to go over their answers, then I was there to do that as well. The second and most important type of virtual lesson that I actually had was to have my students prepare for a virtual class discussion. So it was more of a discussion lesson class thing that my students were doing, but it allowed them to talk with each other online. So it wasn't me talking to them. I asked them to unmic their phone. I asked them to tell me what the answers were. Now, when you're going to ask your students to wake up and show themselves virtually, you have to make sure that you're not discouraging this by overcorrecting. So even if they get an answer wrong, praise them for being brave enough to actually talk in front of the virtual classroom, but then invite other students to then bounce ideas off of with them until they eventually get to the right answer. Now, this allows students to feel the connection of their peers. You know, they're not just building relationships with you, they're building relationships with the other students that they're in the class with. And the more that they talk about the discourse, the curriculum that you're trying to teach, the more they'll understand it. And lastly, the best way that I have found to build relationships with my students is not giving them the busy work. It seems easy to just jump online and find a whole unit and just go there, it's online, do it, you know. But you'll find that students tend to be discouraged when they get all of that work and it's kind of like a textbook format. When you're virtual, take advantage of what you have. You have the entire internet at your disposal, and you also have more time. So you're going to be able to break apart your classrooms and meet with 3 or 4 students for 15 minutes multiple times a week, just to talk about what they're doing. And you can really build relationships with your students that way, because you're able to talk one-on-one or one-on-3 at a time and understand what's going on at home, what's going on with them, what's life like, but then also being able to present to them the concept of personalized learning, where they get to learn their own content. So you're the teacher, you're still teaching them the standards, you're still making sure that they are following the curriculum. But for example, if you're teaching English, you can have them go on the computer and pick a topic. Maybe they want to learn more about veterinary science. Maybe they want to learn more about apocalyptic literature. Maybe they want to learn more about classic literature or about the different American wars that have been fought. Any of these are perfectly acceptable topics, and you can find informational texts on these topics, you can find literary texts on these topics, you can find poetry. I mean, you can find all the genres that you need to teach your children through the topics that they want to learn. And if you show the students that you're willing to personalize their education for them when you're virtual, that's going to build a relationship with them 10 times faster than any other way that you're going to be able to do it virtually. I hope that these tips, tricks, and tidbits kind of help you out if you find yourself teaching virtually in the near future. And if not, don't forget, personalized learning builds relationships whether you're virtual or face-to-face. For more information on how to personalize your lessons, check out our personalize and differentiation videos that we have on YouTube. Also, keep an eye out. We'll be coming out with more shortly. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, subscribe down below.